Hey, welcome back, everybody. Good morning. It is Wednesday, and this is the Mic Drop Show. We're here every Wednesday morning answering your questions and having some great guests from time to time. So, if you are somebody who is an aspiring multifamily investor, if you are somebody in the multifamily business and looking to scale your business in the coming months, you're in the right place. I'm Mike Morawski. I'm your multifamily bounce back coach. Have been in the real estate space, the multifamily business, 30 years. Have a lot of experience over those 3 decades, and continually learn even today. And I think that is a part of all of our journeys, that we don't just learn what we learn and stop, but we continue to grow and continue to expand. You know what? Today you're going to hear a real question pulled from YouTube and LinkedIn. We want to make sure that we're getting real questions from people. And my question and comment today comes off of YouTube by Alec Invests. And he says rates are high. Should I start in the multifamily business this year, or should I wait? And you know what, that's a really interesting question. And I have a couple of different ways I can go with it. But before I dive into that question and answer it, hey, if you're here for the first time, I appreciate you. Like us, love us, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram. We are just continually bringing out a ton of data, a ton of information to help you grow your business, whether it's with someone else or just some of my own personal knowledge over the years of how to invest. We're gonna talk about a couple things this morning. Is timing right now to buy a piece of real estate? What about DSCRs? How do we look at those? What about interest rates, right? All those things. And I think there's a lot of questions in the investor's mind today. Hey, should I get in the business right now? And one comment I want to make about that: it doesn't matter how high pricing is, how low pricing is, how high interest rates are, how low interest rates are. You can make money in real estate if you buy right, you manage right, and you are conservative in those assumptions. You're going to make money. Remember, real estate is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It happens over time. There's an ancient proverb that I love and that I use a lot, and it just goes like this. It says, you have two choices when you plant a tree. You could plant that tree 20 years ago, or you could plant it today. And when I look at it and you think about it, well, 20 years ago, if I would have planted a tree, where would it be? Well, in 20 years, if I plant that same tree today, where's it going to be? So when do you want to get involved? Are interest rates high? No, they're not that high. They're really at a normalized place right now. 3 decades ago, when I got in the real estate business, we were just coming out of double-digit returns, or double-digit interest rates. 10%, 11%. They dropped in the early 90s down to about 9% interest rates. And I can remember being in the business back then and having this conversation. Boy, I wish I could buy a house today and have an interest rate of what my parents had, 50 years before that, which at the time was like 3%. But it took 50 years for that cycle to come back. I think one of the worst things that happened to us was that interest rates got so low, where you could get a mortgage for 2.5%, 3% on a home loan. And that got people thinking, wow, this should be normal, when it's not normal. If you look at the graphs, and I wish I had a graph this morning, but if you look at the graphs and the trends over the last 30 years, you're going to see that 5 to 6% interest, 7% is really a normalized interest rate. So if you're buying a residential property today and you're looking at a 6.5, a 7% interest rate, you are really in a normalized factor. That's really, you learn how to make your deal work at that interest rate. If you're buying multifamily today, there's ways that you can buy down interest rates where you can, I have a great friend who right now they're in the process of purchasing a very large portfolio. And he was telling me about the capital stack structure and his debt financing. They're able to buy down the note and get in the high fours on an interest rate. So you have options as an investor. And how do you look at your options around that? One of the things you need to be concerned about in today's market is the DSCR. That's that debt service coverage ratio. In order to get a loan from a bank, you have to meet a certain threshold. Normally, that threshold is a 1.25 or higher. And really what that means, people say, oh, what's DSCR? Well, what that means is how much of a mortgage payment can I make on a monthly basis? And the bank wants to see you be able to make at least 1.25 mortgage payments. That's the 1.25, 1.25 mortgage payments each month from that cash flow of your property. And we're going to run through a scenario. So if you're driving, you might want to pull over, write some notes on this scenario. If you're sitting somewhere and you've got a piece of paper, you might want to write some of this down. So how you look at the DSCR, but that debt service coverage ratio tells the bank, yes, the deal itself can afford the loan and is going to be able to pay the payments of the loan. So if your DSCR hits the threshold of 1.25, why does it matter if your interest rates are higher or lower, right? 6% or 7% or 5%. Well, where it matters is it matters in the cash flow, which is a whole nother topic, a whole nother discussion. One thing that I want to mention though about DSCRs, there's a lot of sellers today. So if you own a property and you're asset managing a property today, you want to make sure that your DSCR manages that threshold of 1.25. You probably have some loan covenants in your loan documents that state, hey, if you drop below 1.2 or 1.1, that you're going to trigger some type of a default or a lockbox situation with your property. And you want to watch that. There's deals out there today that you can buy where the DSCR is low and sellers are struggling and are a little bit in trouble. Now, can you go and get another mortgage on that? In most cases, unless you buy that property at a super discount, you're not going to be able to get a mortgage on that property. So what I've learned over the years is that there's creative ways to buy properties that are in distress situations and help sellers out. And I'm actually going to be holding a master class on October 25th on Saturday morning, where I'm going to teach some strategies on how to buy real estate with little or no money down. You'll get a free pass to that class if you join me for my multifamily summit this week. This week, I'm hosting my 6th annual multifamily summit, 2 days, Thursday and Friday, with 20 great speakers and panelists. Speakers like Brad Sumrock, like Hunter Thompson, Michael Guthrie, Forrest Corral, people that are big name operators in the marketplace. We're going to have Karen Hall on talking about self-directed IRAs and Michelle Fitzpatrick speaking about 1031 exchanges, a host of speakers. We're going to give you a lot of tools to put in your toolbox. Plus, I'm going to give you a free pass to my master class on how to buy real estate with little or no money down 2 weeks later. So, if you're somebody who's looking to get started in the business, somebody looking for a shot in the arm, somebody looking to scale your business this year, this is a 2-day event, online, virtual. You can do it from your home, from your office, from your car. If you're not there for the whole event, it'll be recorded, but don't miss it. It's going to be a great 2 days. Let me jump into this scenario a little bit. So here's the example. You've got a 20-unit apartment complex. Your average rent is $1,100 per month. You have other income. on there as well. And you have a vacancy rate. We're using 8% as a vacancy. You have 45% expense ratio. Now, when you look at a multifamily property to purchase, a good threshold to be at is 50% expenses. So you have the rent that comes in, 50% expenses. That gives you what's called an EGI, your effective gross income. With a 7% loan, doing a 25-year amortization, where most deals today are 30-year, but we're going to use 25-year amortization, you're still at a 1.3 DSCR. Gives you a green light to move forward with that property. And that's at a 7% interest rate. So do interest rates really affect it? And that's not even talking at this point of what the purchase price and that is. So, there's more to that story, but that's a great point of reference. 20 units, 8% vacant, $1,100 a month in rental income, 45% expense ratio, and a 7% mortgage payment. You still hitting a 1.3 DSCR, which the bank is going to say, yeah, we can loan on this property. So, what type of loan then should you be putting on a property like this? Well, there's a lot of conversation always around types of loans. What should we put on the property? What is standard? And there's a difference between a fixed rate mortgage and a floating rate mortgage. Do I buy down my loan? What exactly should I do? And I'm a fixed rate mortgage guy. I want to wake up every morning and know that my interest rate's not going to change, that my mortgage payment is going to be the same. If I go into a deal today and I'm buying a property and it's at 7%, but I know that rates are coming down in 18 months from now, once I have stabilization, I can go back in, refinance that property, get a better interest rate, which is going to help me to operate the property better at that point. Maybe even do a cash out refinance, return some principal back to my investors. So there's a lot of moving parts within that. You could do floating rate debt. Floating rate debt means that your interest rate will start at, X, and it could have a ceiling of X and a floor of X and could go back and forth. But you know what? You never know, because you don't know where interest rates are going to go. You don't want to wake up tomorrow morning and go from a 7 to a 9, because that's going to stranglehold your cash flow. And that's the last thing you want to do. It's tough enough in operations of multifamily today with rising insurance costs, rising taxes, rising, tariffs, putting stress and pressure on goods, and then, labor services going up. It's hard to mitigate that and be able to raise your rents enough to be able to offset that. So the other side of that, though, is if you were able to go in and get a fixed rate mortgage, but buy your interest rate down. So maybe it costs you another $50 or $200 or $300,000. And if you're syndicating the deal, just raise that capital with your investors and buy that interest rate down, but then do fixed rate debt on that lower interest rate. See, what that's going to do for you is that's going to give you stability in that property, in the growth of that property. It's going to help you to grow it, force the appreciation, and to stay stable in your mortgage payment. So I hope this was helpful this morning. Again, I just want to mention that if you're somebody who's an aspiring real estate investor, you are looking for direction. How do I get into business? Is this the right time? And, I want to address that, because that was part of that initial question this morning was, is it the right time? I believe it is. Real estate is cyclical. There's really no geniuses in the real estate business, and nobody is smarter than you are. So whether you have experience, whether you have money, whether you don't have money, whether you have good or bad credit, you can get in real estate and you can do real estate deals. Is this the right time? Yes. I firmly believe we're going into one of the greatest times in history that you're going to be able to buy real estate, where you're going to be able to take real estate and capitalize on it. And now is the time to be able to capitalize on this opportunity. Over the last 3 decades, I've said, man, if I could just get into a deal or buy a couple of deals just as the market is changing and ride the cycle up, boy, you could, this is where redistribution of wealth occurs in real estate for operators. And, when you have the wind at your back, it really gives you the opportunity to grow and progress. So, what I want to encourage you to do is think about getting into the business today. Think about what it's going to take for you to jump in and get started. Again, I just want to mention that my 6th annual multifamily summit is coming up. This one's bigger and better than it's been. We have a lot of attendees. We have 20 speakers and panelists. Tonight is the VIP night, the VIP event. So if you're going to be at the summit, you've got a VIP ticket, you want to attend tonight. We're going to have an hour or so, couple hours of Q&A, networking, serious, hey, who are you? What do you do? What are you working on? We're going to go around the room and really look at maybe building some strategic alliances, some relationships, some partnerships. And then the summit starts tomorrow morning at 9:00, 9:00 all day long. Bring a lunch, bring a snack, because we're going to plow right through 20 speakers and panelists on Thursday and Friday this week. You're going to learn how to raise capital, where to raise capital today. You're going to learn how to use 1031 and IRA strategies the right way and to the most beneficial way of you and any investors you bring in your deals. You're going to get straight answers on the legalities of syndications and syndication of compliance. We're going to talk about asset management. I have a couple speakers on that are huge in the asset management space. I'm going to personally do an interview on Friday with Anna Jensen, who is huge in the asset management space. And we're going to just talk about what we're seeing today in the market and the struggles in some deals and what KPIs are really important to look at today in today's market. But don't miss tonight. Don't lose a minute of momentum that you can gain for the next 2 days. Go to multifamily25, register, grab your VIP ticket, join us tonight at the event, do some networking, build some strategic alliances. Tonight happens at 6 p.m. Central. The summit starts tomorrow morning at 9:00. Remember that you are going to get a pass to my masterclass on how to buy real estate with little or no money down. You know what? Over 3 decades, I have bought multiple deals with little or no money down. Everything from single family to 4 units to 60 units to 400 unit apartment complexes with little and no money down. I have one technique that I use, and you may have been to some of these other seminars. You go and see subject to or land contract or owner financing or no money down deals. But I use one tool where I combine all of that into one tool, and I have had the success of being able to have control of real estate. You see, when you do creative financing and you put structures to deal together, you create win-win situations. And in those win-win situations, you want to benefit the seller and benefit you. It gives you control of the real estate, and it gives you ownership in the future. So how do we do that? How do we put that together? Come to the masterclass on October 25th for a couple of hours on a Saturday morning and learn that tool, learn that system. You're going to get a free pass by being at the Multifamily Summit. That summit starts tomorrow morning at 9:00. The VIP session is tonight. Looking forward to seeing you online tonight. Thanks for listening. I'm Mike Morawski. I'm the Bounce Back Coach, Multifamily Bounce Back Coach, and this is the Mic Drop Show. Subscribe, like us, share this with somebody who you think could benefit from us, who invests in real estate or wants to get started, whether they're a passive investor or an active investor. Hey, drop your next question on YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel, subscribe there. Drop your next question there or on LinkedIn, TikTok. Include numbers and context, what you're looking for. Your question might be the next one on next week's episode. If you're somebody who wants a spot on this show or know somebody who should have a spot on this show, let me know. We'll have them here for an interview. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you at the summit this week.